look for the red rectangle. Here we go.
Greetings and good afternoon, incoming 6th grade students and families. My name is Byron Lilly, and I'm the very proud principal of Tyee Middle School. And we are so excited to be with you today virtually. But to give you another overview of Tyee Middle School, the school that you are just about 2.5 months away from becoming a part of, a school that you already in some ways are becoming a part of, as you make this awesome transition from 5th to 6th grade to join us for your first year of middle school. So to those families who have been with us before with maybe some of your older children, to some of those families who are brand new to Tyee Middle School in our community and brand new to the middle school level, we're really excited, my team and I, of Jennifer Johnson and Betty Nahn, who are our assistant principals. We're very excited to introduce you to Tyee Middle School and to welcome you in. The purpose of this afternoon's presentation is to give a little bit of information about our 6th grade classes and programs, some of the expectations for some of our typical school day structures, and to address some of the questions that we have been sent related to aspects of student life next year, as well as some important information before we head into summer break so that families feel well informed. We are also making this a recording that's going to be available to view at a later time, and we'll have it linked through our Bellevue School District YouTube page, as well as through our Tyee Middle School homepage as a resource for incoming 6th grade families. So in case there's important information covered today that you would like to hear a second time, we will make sure that that is available to you. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into a brief overview of Tyee Middle School. To those of you who attended our January open house or who had the chance to watch our March registration presentation, some of this information will be a review and a repeat, but is still helpful information nonetheless, especially with a number of things that are up in the air. Additionally to that, when I'm done presenting, Ms. Nahn and Ms. Johnson will cover some other important information that came from you, our incoming families. So hopefully we address this information in a number of ways, and it's made perfectly clear. We will also be sure to include our contact information at the end of the presentation. So I'll be sliding forward through a number of slides as we cover this important information. I'll be narrating along. So again, welcome to Tyee Middle School. This is a 6th grade family information session for June 4th, 2020. My name again is Byron Lilly. I am the principal of Tyee Middle School, and this is my first year here at Tyee. Most of my experience prior to coming to Tyee was an assistant principal, predominantly at the high school level, but I am from somewhat near the Tyee community, as I was a teacher prior to becoming an administrator at Newport High School for about 8 years. So very excited to work with the Tyee Middle School community. Our assistant principals are Jennifer Johnson and Betty Nahn, who will introduce themselves shortly. So the million-dollar question that our families have been asking is, what will fall of 2020 look like given the circumstances involving COVID-19 and the subsequent school closure and transition to remote learning? And I wanted to let you know that this is indeed the million-dollar question. We are awaiting some key decisions to be made by our state superintendent as well as by our Bellevue School District and its board of directors. And that is how we accept that guidance. However, something important to know is that information was recently published to the Bellevue School District website, www.bsd405.org, which covers an important tab right there in the center of the page called Planning for Fall. In it, it details a overview draft plan that the school district has put together and submitted to the school board. There are 4 potential scenarios that our school district is planning for that would impact Tyee Middle School, as it would all of our elementary, high schools, and middle schools. But to give you a brief overview, is we are planning for the possibility that we will continue remote learning and start the new year in a remote learning platform. We're preparing for the possibility of re-entering the school building in some type of hybridized model, either by providing remote instruction as well as in-person instruction, or alternating days where only a certain number of students would be available present for in-building instruction while online and remote resources would still be available. Finally, there's a final plan of preparing for the event that we're able to start the school year in a typical model with in-building instruction and our 1,000 plus students being in our corridors, but what to do in the event that COVID were to have a resurgence. This is just one simple screenshot. There are more detailed plans and overviews contained within the Bellevue School District website, and I encourage you to check that out. Our Bellevue School District vision is to affirm and inspire each and every student to learn and thrive as their creators of their future world. And at Tyee Middle School, we strive to fulfill and ensure that vision can carry forward. We do hold tight to some common expectations that have some universal appeal to them and allow us to anchor each and everything we do, from our classrooms to our hallways to our after-school programs to our expectations, is that in each and every way that our students and staff embody these expectations of respecting oneself, respecting each other, and respecting this place. And we do use a creative acronym around the word pride, as we do believe that it very much so pulls together our sense of community and belongingness. And again, those are important key values that we hold dear and things that we are constantly measuring and looking for growth in, is that sense of belongingness for each and every student and child. In terms of Tyee Middle School, this is some information that's been covered before, but for those of you who are new to our district or who have not had a chance to attend one of our previous information nights, you'll see that with our current enrollment profile, how our student body identifies racially, as well as the percentage of students of our school receiving free reduced lunch, and the percentage, about a quarter of our students speak a first language other than English. And so through that, you can see that we are very diverse. We represent a wide overview and cross section of our South Bellevue community, and very much so we work each and every way to ensure that our students, their sense of belonging and purpose and connection is felt within our school building. In terms of the academic services that we provide as a school, we are one of the 2 middle schools in the Bellevue School District that provides advanced learning self-contained classes. About 28% of our student body receive advanced learning services. About 5% of our student body receive special education services, including an individualized education plan. And about 6% of our students receive English language learner services via classes and sheltered instruction. In terms of our staff, you can see that we're a very large staff of nearly 100. We have 10 staff members in administrative roles, 9 who serve in a counselor and specialist role, and 11 who provide instructional support to our teachers and students. We have 55 classroom teachers. It is a veteran staff. We have an average of 10 years experience amongst our teachers, the majority of which hold high degrees, master's degrees or higher, and a third of whom are nationally board certified, which is significantly higher than the national and state averages. We're very proud to see that. The National Board Certificate is one of the highest levels of accomplishment a teacher can attain in the U.S. In terms of our courses and academic programs, and going back again to that initial slide with the $1 million question, I want to be very clear that until we have a firmer and better understanding of what some of the possibilities and expectations are for resuming the instruction in the 2020-2021 school year, is we very much so want to prepare for the other likelihood that we'll be able to continue with our typical program. So in terms of our 6th grade courses and the academic overview, all of our 6th grade students next year will be taking language arts, social studies, math, science. Those are all full year courses. We often have nicknamed those our core courses. Also required for 6th grade students is 1 semester, which is half of a year, in 6th grade physical education, or PE, which is an activity-based exercise science class. A semester represents half of the school year. It's how our school year is structured at the middle and high school level. It's a little bit different than the elementary structure, but our semesters run effectively 90 school days long. Our first semester begins in early September and ends in late January. Our second semester begins in late January and ends in mid to late June at the end of the school year. Math, in terms of a closer look when it comes to math, Integrated Math Topics 1, otherwise known as IMT1, is the typical 6th grade math placement. The 6th graders who are in this course are on track to take Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and they're also on track to take college level math, AP Calculus, by the end of high school, by 12th grade. There is the possibility in some cases that some 6th grade students, depending upon their respective math goals and skills, are able to accelerate and begin in IMT2, which is a typical 7th grade math placement. Not very many students do that, but some do that. Our BSD, Bellevue School District does offer an online IMT1 self-study option, which can take place in the summertime. There is more information under summer programs on the Bellevue School District website. As I mentioned before, we do offer an advanced learning program, and at the middle school level for our advanced learning families, you can know that our instructional program does involve acceleration. Our math classes have students accelerating 1 year in self-contained classes. They begin the 6th grade in IMT2. Our science, language arts, and social studies classes are all advanced 1 year in self-contained classes. And our advanced learning students, excuse me, the slides are moving too fast. The advanced learning students do participate in a full range of electives in blended classrooms with all Tyee students. In terms of electives, electives are courses that are optional for students to take. Our students do need to have a full 7th period day, but outside of the typical core classes, students can take a combination of 2 additional class periods of electives. We offer career and technical education courses, which center on disciplines like engineering, computer science, or media production. Visual and performing arts, which cover music such as band, orchestra, and choir, as well as drawing, painting, and ceramics, both 2D and 3D art. We do have some academic focused electives around debate, leadership, and creative writing. And we do offer 3 world languages along with their sequences. These are Spanish, French, and Chinese. For world language, 2 years are required in the same language for high school graduation, and in the Bellevue School District, this can be taken anytime between 6th and 12th grade. Students can start in middle school, but the first year courses are spread over 2 years. So over 3 years of middle school, students would take language 1A, 1B, and 2 across 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in French, Chinese, and Spanish. A typical day at Tyee. Again, going back to that $1 million question. Prior to the COVID-19 closure and subsequently following the closure, we would see a school day where students would arrive between 7:45 and 8, their first period class beginning at 8:15. Students attend 7 classes per day. That means 7 classes, 7 teachers, and 7 different classrooms. There's a 30-minute lunch break. The school day does end at 3 p.m. and 1:50 on Wednesdays for an early release. And we do offer something called tutorial, which I'll explain more later, which runs from 3:05 to 3:35 every day of the week, but Wednesdays. We also run activities, clubs, and sports every day of the week from 3:40 to 4:25, with the exception of Wednesdays. Again, this is what things would look like in a typical start, and is one of the plans that we are putting in preparation. A sample schedule for a typical 6th grade student would involve these courses with 4-minute break in between. All of our 6th graders take first lunch. It is a 6th grade only lunch period between 3rd and 4th period before they resume afternoon classes from 4th period to 7th period. Tutorial can be attended with any teacher, and activities can be the choice of a supervised activity, whether athletics, clubs, or a study hall. Some examples of clubs and activities are shown on this slide right here. You can see that they represent a wide variety of interests, and many are student-led. Our athletics are coached and advised by adults and are seasonal, meaning some sports are offered during certain times of the year. We also provide a 4:30 p.m. activity bus, which goes to some limited routes 4 days a week. Typically, students are dropped off between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, able to get home after participating in a full day of school, tutorial, and after-school activities. Some frequently asked questions we get from our students and from our families, and I'm sorry these slides are a little bit out of order. Yes, students do carry backpacks. A laptop will also be issued to every sixth grader. Lunch tables are not assigned by class or last name. Students may sit with their friends of their choice. There's plenty of seating during sixth grade lunch to ensure every student has a seat. At lunch, the first 15 minutes is dedicated to nutrition and face-to-face socializing. The final 15 minutes, however, students can head to the library to check out some of the book resources we have, or they can go outside. Are the lockers easy to figure out? Yes, combination locks are easy to figure out, but for many of our sixth grade students, this is a new practice, and there is a link that we will put on our school website, which will show you how to practice a combination lock. Is it easy to get lost in the big building? The building is big, but we provide a lot of help to ensure that you can find your way around. Some other frequently asked questions we get from students. PE is a little bit different as an everyday class. Students will have PE every day for a semester. It's a lot of fun. It's very activity based. It's a great break for a number of students taking some rigorous academics. There are locker rooms where students will change and will be able to lock and secure their belongings. In terms of how much homework there is for sixth graders, in a typical school year with our typical structure, we can expect about 30 to 60 minutes per night of students doing independent homework for their classes. Some classes have more dedicated nightly practice, and other classes tend to lean a lot more towards what's being done in the classroom. In the remote learning environment, we have seen our students complete 60 to 100 minutes per class per week, and our teachers are limited to assign that much. In terms of planners and organization, every student will be given and encouraged to use a paper planner. We'll also be exploring other ways to keep track of things, including the calendar feature within Outlook. And for a more in-depth question on what is tutorial, this is 30 minutes of time after 7th period where teachers are not to have meetings, but they are dedicated to being in their classrooms, and students can go to the classroom of their choice. They can take on a number of activities such as making up a test, working on homework, asking a question, or completing a project on their own or with classmates. This is just another extra time where students can work towards staying on top of their classes and remaining engaged with their teachers. An important date to keep on your calendar, families, is August 27th. On that day, we will be hosting our 6th grade orientation at the school building called WEB, Where Everybody Belongs is what WEB stands for. It's an orientation and transition program for our 6th graders. 6th grade students are invited to a special orientation day where they'll meet friends, tour the school. Oh, excuse me, the slide's going too fast. Connect with 8th grade leaders and have fun. It's a morning event, and in the afternoon, when parents come to pick up their students, families are invited to come inside for an information fair, which we call Taking Care of Business Day. It's an open house where families can explore the building with their students. They can register for the PTSA or for any sports, or they can try out their lockers for the first time. It's a really good opportunity to walk around the building. As we're uncertain about the possibilities of COVID-19 and extended school closures, tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, we're hosting a remote information session led by some of our teacher web leaders, as well as in late August, we will plan a remote or virtual tour and session if we are required to. So we will be considering our need to build Plan B in the event that the building is not accessible for large crowds. Some other important dates to please take note of is that this Friday, June 19th, is our last day of classes and our final day for teachers. Our office will remain open until June 26th. However, our physical office at the Tyee campus is closed. So when I share with that, I mean that our administrative staff will continue to work until June 26th. On August 1st, our Tyee office will slowly begin to reopen, and there will be folks available to answer questions and process any records that might be coming through. August 31st is when most of our staff will return to the building. This is a little bit out of order, but August 27th is our 6th grade web orientation, which is in the morning, followed by Taking Care of Business Day in the afternoon. And Thursday, September 3rd, you can mark that on your calendar, is the first day of school, the first day we will resume instruction. Some important people to contact that could be helpful for you this spring, summer, or early in the fall. Alexa Waymeyer is our school nurse. She can address questions about medication, allergies, and health plans, and she will be available, or she'll be unavailable after June 19th. Michelle Steinberg is our office manager. She will be available throughout the summer. She can answer questions related to taking care of business day, student accounts, lockers, or any other questions that perhaps might come up after June happens and you're just trying to get a hold of somebody during the summer. RM Scott is our administrative assistant. She helps oversee ASB and school activities and can answer your questions involving activities and final forms. To note, she will be unavailable after June 26th. And Francia Rodriguez is our school registrar who can support you with parenting plans or student records. She is unavailable after June 26th. All of these individuals' emails are listed here and are available on our Tyee website. Our principal and assistant principals, who you will get to meet in just a moment. Again, my name is Byron Lilly. My email is listed right there. Betty Nahn works primarily with students in the beginning part of the alphabet. This year, she's working with students' last names A through LI and can be a contact for you. And Jennifer Johnson is our other assistant principal who works with students primarily towards the end of the alphabet, last names LO through Z this year. You can also keep in touch this summer and be aware of updates by checking our Tyee website periodically. We will be updating it throughout the end of June, and then we'll be taking a little bit of a break through July, and you'll begin to see more updates coming in after August. We'll be placing summer announcements, our student family handbook once it's updated, as well as our activity offerings for the 2020-2021 school year. So with that, I'm going to end the slideshow and stop sharing my screen. I again want to welcome each and every one of you to Tyee Middle School. This is a fantastic place. It's one that I am incredibly proud to be the principal of. And next, I'm going to turn it over to our assistant principal, Jennifer Johnson. Jennifer.
Hi, Mr. Lilly. Thank you so much for your support. One of the things that Mr. Lilly got to dive into was a lot of logistics about Tyee, and we've gotten some frequently asked questions from some of our community members, incoming families, and so I'm just going to answer some of those, and then Betty Nahn will also come on after me and answer the other portion of these. They're by no means an exhaustive list of frequently asked questions, so we would love to continue to answer your questions if you have them. If we don't hit them today, that's okay. Reach out to us and we're happy to continue offering more information. I am in the place that you are all in. I have a 5th grader who's transitioning to middle school next year, and I'm seeing this from both the professional hat and the parent hat. And so I just want to encourage you to ask questions. It's okay. There is no silly question, and we are here to support all of those. This is my 5th year at Tyee, so I'm excited to hopefully get back to the building and the children next year and start my 6th year at Tyee. And I was lucky enough years ago to be a teacher at Tyee also. So the community has grown significantly in the last 20 years, and we're just excited to have your middle school students supported by our staff. Okay, so some summer planning. To stay up to date on all current information that has to do with Tyee specifically or the Bellevue School District, we would recommend that you access our websites. So you go to the Bellevue School District and you can access Tyee through that, or you can just go straight to the Tyee School Middle School page. We'll keep the webpage updated with important calendar dates and information. And then we will start sending out weekly emails in August. So our weekly email communication will begin in August, and we're going to be using the email addresses in parent view. So I'd recommend that if you have access to update those, if those have changed, that will be very important to make sure that you're getting our information. Taking care of business day, and sometimes you see it abbreviated TCOB. For some reason, education is all about acronyms. So this one, TCOB, taking care of business, for 6th graders It is on Thursday, August 27th. So you heard Mr. Lilly talk about Web Day, where everybody belongs. That day is for our 6th graders to start to experience some orientation with our 8th graders. And then in the afternoon from 12:30 to 3, we will have the Taking Care of Business Day at the school. And if we have to do that virtually, we'll let you know. What if we can't make the TCOB? How will my student receive the schedule? We don't want you to worry about the student schedule. In fact, one of the things that I'm really doing right now is building the master schedule. So this year it's taking a little bit longer to do that given all our current circumstances. Please don't worry about your student schedule, but if you have questions, we can try and answer them. You should, by September 3rd on Student View, be able to view your student schedule, and we will have those printed out and available to students. Hopefully, we will have them the first day of school. Sometimes they get them on that web day. It'll just depend, again, if we have to do something virtually. Some of our families wanted to know if there is a TCOB for returning 7th and 8th graders. We will not be doing an in-person Taking Care of Business for our 7th and 8th graders this year. We will be doing anything you need online. There is, though, an orientation. If you happen to know a new student that's coming into 7th or 8th grade that has not been previously at Tyee, we will do a new student orientation on Tuesday, September 1st. 7th graders and 8th graders will be able to get their schedule. It should go live on Student View by September 3rd, and we will be printing those out and providing those to students on the first day of school if we are live in person first day of school. Okay, now I have some questions about supports and services. I've done my best to try and answer these questions, but if I'm off the mark a little bit, you can just go ahead and send me an email and I can more directly answer your question. The first question is, how are typical middle school topics covered with kids, such as social media overuse, cliques, body image issues, etc.? Is it in the classrooms or is it in small groups? I just want to give kudos to our staff. We have an amazing staff who will enter into conversations where students need support with typical middle school topics at any time that the situation presents itself. So our staff really want to support kids. Sometimes these things come up in classes. Sometimes there's a teachable moment. We also will engage, all of these topics are taught specifically and explicitly in health class in 7th grade. As well as the school district, along with Tyee specifically, but the school district has rolled out a social and emotional curriculum that all our middle schools take part in. And then if that doesn't meet the needs of our students, we also have a set of 3 fabulous counselors who can offer either one-on-one support and sometimes small groups around the same topics. But middle school's hard. It's a big transition. We want to make that as smooth as possible. And so I would say every single adult at Tyee is able to and willing to have these discussions and support your student. There was another question about, do you provide therapy or mental health treatment? Again, we have that amazing counseling staff. We're fortunate to have 3 counselors, and they divide in the alphabet. They divide the alphabet into thirds, and I'll explain that in a minute. But they will support your students academically, socially, and emotionally. And at times in middle school, those social emotional supports are greatly needed. So we don't want anybody to feel like they can't ask for support. The counseling staff would be the best first start for that. While we don't offer specific mental health services at Tyee, we do partner with YES, Youth Eastside Services, and they have a counselor come into our building once a week, and we support students through that way. And if a student has an IEP or any related services that are necessary, those are provided typically by a district social worker. Another question, where can kids go if they just need someone to talk with? Again, I have not worked with a more open and willing staff to support kids. So I think of all those individuals that Mr. Lilly talked about and what their roles are at Tyee, they are all open and willing to support students. And again, we have the 3 counselors. So if your last name begins A through HO, your counselor will be Mr. Johnson. HR through P, your counselor will be Miss Hatch. and Q through Z will be Miss Hannibal. So at Tyee, we go based on last name to assign counseling staff. And then there was a question about the nurse. We have a nurse on campus 90% of the week. And so when the nurse is not on campus, we rely on the expertise and training of our front office staff, including administrators, to support kids who might have medical needs. Sometimes we give medication, sometimes we've had to provide EpiPens, so we're all trained to do that. And that's when the nurse is not on campus. A follow-up question, I think, on that one was, what about food in the classroom? How's that handled, particularly in regard to food allergies? Our staff trained to administer emergency EpiPens. Every single member of a teaching staff or a school is trained to provide an EpiPen at the beginning of every school year. So that is something that all of our staff get trained for. When we talk about food in the classroom, we actually don't encourage food in the classroom because these classrooms kind of are busy places. They have lots of kids in and out of them. For the very reason of allergies, we try to not encourage food in the classroom. Every now and then there might be an opportunity or celebration, and then we're asking those teachers to communicate home to let you know what's going on in their classroom and what you might expect. And you can always share your concerns with them if you have them. One of the things that is a little bit different from elementary school to middle school is we can encourage kids, if they feel comfortable and if you're comfortable and if the doctor agrees, to self-carry EpiPens. And so if this is something that you're interested in, I encourage you to reach out to our nurse, Alexa Waymeyer. Self-carrying just requires some paperwork, but we do have students that do that. Okay, my last segment of questions is about activities, and I'm going to answer the first few. I'm going to shoot it over to Miss Nan, and she'll answer the last few. So some of you have received an email from something called Final Forms, and you asked, what is this? Do I need to pick my students' activities now? I can't think about picking my students' activities right now personally, so no, you do not need to pick your students' activities right now. But Final Forms, it's some history and information that we need to make sure that we're prepared to support your student. So medical history, permission forms, all those need to be updated every year. You're going to use the Final Forms platform to be able to manage that on your end, and then we can support on our end, and we'll have all that information in case your student's involved in an activity or goes on a field trip. There was a question about ASB cards. ASB cards can be purchased online before school starts, one of the great things about the Taking Care of Business Day. And cards will be given to students on Picture Day, which is September 17th. That's Picture Day. And then, do students try out for clubs or sports if everyone's able to play, or is everyone able to play? At Tyee, we really are supporting students being a well-rounded student. So we want students to be involved in our activities. Mr. Lilly showed you a slide that had a bunch of activities on it. It was a lot to read. I think Mr. Lilly said this PowerPoint or this presentation will be available on our website, and you can actually go back and look at all those with your student and start talking about what their interests might be. It's really great to have so many opportunities for our students to be involved in. We thank you very much to our staff, Jubilee Reach, who has coaches in our buildings, some community volunteers, and some of our high school students who previously went to Tyee to coach those and support those and be available to mentor our students. And we actually also encourage kids new to Tyee or 7th and 8th graders to decide maybe to start a club. So we have an opportunity through our Associated Student Body protocol to start new clubs, and that could be one thing that your students might be interested in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Miss Nan, and she will do the last part of the activities piece.
Hello, everyone. My name is Betty, and thank you, Mrs. Johnson. I am the one of the assistant principals at Tyee, and I'm really excited to be joining the Tyee community. This is my first year as an assistant principal. Prior to this, I was actually the middle school math curriculum developer, and I was supporting all the middle schools and the math teachers across the district. So I'm really excited to be here to get to know the students better, and I'm really looking forward to meeting all the sixth graders next year in the fall. So I'm going to be wrapping up. Just so you know, the two questions regarding the supports and services. And just like Mrs. Johnson, I also have a incoming, well, not incoming to Tyee, but a sixth grader, going to be a sixth grader. So I completely understand. Really, these are great questions, and these are the same kinds of questions I would be asking my kids' school as well. So some of it might be repeat information, but it's very important nonetheless. So the first question is, do sixth graders get paired with an older student body? Yes, so just that's a simple answer, but we know that the middle school transition is a very important transition. There is a student organization that Mr. Lilly mentioned, which is WEB, which is where everyone belongs. Excuse me. And those are really eighth grade students, eighth grade leaders who have been trained in leadership skills to support and become mentors for our sixth grade students. So each sixth grader will be paired with a eighth grade web leader. And during the Taking Care of Business Day, there's a web day where students will be coming, sixth graders will be meeting their web leader, and the web leader will be providing tours, kind of giving some advice. So definitely there will be this support system in place. The second question is, when is picture day and who is the photography company? So picture day is pretty important because I know spending a lot of time just making sure my kids look picture perfect. The picture day for Tyee is on September 22nd during the school day. Retakes are scheduled on October 27th. The company is Life Touch, and so don't worry about writing this all down because more information will be coming to the families and to the students as we approach picture day. Okay, so that kind of wraps up that category. I'm going to be talking specifically about questions regarding the schedule and the billing, as well as sixth grade classes. So the first question is, what time does school start and end, and are Wednesdays different? So for most of the days, except for Wednesday, well, for all the days, school starts at 8:15. On most of the days, except for Wednesday, it ends at 3 o'clock. And after that, there's tutorial that Mr. Lilly mentioned. On Wednesdays, that's a little bit different. It still starts at 8:15, but it ends at 1:50. There's no tutorial on Wednesday, so that's a little bit different. Okay. If I were you and knowing what traffic is like in the morning, I would definitely leave a little bit more time to make sure the student comes on time because it gets really congested in the morning. So plan for that, please. Next question is, how much time will we get from class to class? Each students get 4 minutes to transition, and it might not seem that much, but it is plenty. So definitely during the day in August, one of the suggestions is really to map out the route so that students know how to get from class to class. How can my student get locker and combination information before school starts? Please email our office manager, Michelle Steinberg. Her email address is also on that page that Mr. Lilly shared. And in August, she will be sending out information about the combinations and the lockers. So, and similarly for 7th or 8th grader to get a locker, so that's by request only. Please email Michelle as well, our office manager, and you can also sign up. The student can sign up at the front desk when school starts. How can I put money on student lunch accounts? There are two ways. The first way is when we're physically in the building, send a check with your student and the student will bring it to our lunch staff who can use that to credit to their lunch account. Or you can do it online, and you can find that link when you go to the Tyee Middle School webpage under resources, and you kind of follow the, there's a lunch or nutrition services, and there's a link embedded in there. What are required subject areas for 6th graders? So that it's really referring back to the core classes that Mr. Lilly mentioned. That's math, science, social studies, language arts. And additionally, each semester of, well, 6th grade, there is a PE requirement as well. What does the day currently look like for 6th graders in terms of live instruction, meetings, assignments, etc. online? So we're going to talk a little bit more now about the actual schedule, which is a little bit different than what you might be experiencing in elementary if you're currently in Bellevue School District. Because there's 7 classes, there's a day that's designated for that particular class. So for instance, on Mondays, it's periods 1 and 2, Tuesdays, it's periods 3 and 4, Wednesdays, 5 and 6, 7, and period 0. Period 0 really applies to the high school. So as you can see, there's a designated day for each period. Those are the scheduled times for 50 minutes of either live Teams instruction. It might be just a time for students to watch a video, a pre-recorded video, or do the classwork. In addition to the 2 class periods, and that's 50 minutes, there's what's called a learning lab. And learning lab is an additional touch point for each of the teachers to provide additional enrichment materials, supplemental materials, or really just a place for them to kind of contact with them. Just a clarification, period 7 and 0 are on Thursdays. So, and you can find that schedule online as well, or you can feel free to email me and I can send you that schedule. So we covered the learning lab, we covered the Teams meeting. So in terms of live instruction, meetings, assignments, etc., it's really depends on the teacher. Some teachers use a combination of live Teams meetings. Some teachers use a combination of like OneNote work or other video recordings. So really it depends on the specific class and teacher. And that leads to really the next question. Are there requirements for minimal live instruction, review of assignments, individual meetings for each class online? It's teacher by teacher, case by case basis. There's no requirement, but teachers are very creative in using a combination of those tools, whether it's live Teams, whether it's OneNote work, whether it's Nearpod or other technology tools. How does remote learning work for hands-on classes like engineering, music, PE, and art? That's a great question. It's really remarkable to see how creative our teachers are getting because we have to utilize kind of like a combination of all these tools to make sure the students, the teachers are showing the instruction, but the students are able to show kind of evidence of their work. So let's say for our engineering classes, there might be modeling on computers and digital design. In music, the teachers will provide live demonstrations or a one-on-one workshop model. For PE, the teachers might have a PowerPoint or provide resources for how muscles work and how to do certain exercises. For art, a teacher also might create and show technique on the video, but in turn, then the student would either upload a picture of their art, or they would update their fitness log, or they would just record their individual like instrument playing to the teacher. So it's very creative. What if families prefer to keep their kids in distance learning environment? Will there be options? I think the options Mr. Lilly outlined kind of in the very beginning, there are some of the scenarios that the district has explored. Again, we're waiting for more guidance from the state to provide guidelines on what it would look like. And certainly we're going to take into account providing options for families to see what situation works best for them. How large is a typical class? In general, it's about 30. Some of the classes might be smaller, some might be larger. For instance, like in orchestra, the classes might be larger in order to have a complete orchestra ensemble. So it really depends, but 30 is a good number for most of our classes. Are teachers able to individualize instruction if students need more challenge or support? Our Tyee teachers are really good at adapting instruction to meet the needs of our students. So it might be determined that a student might need extra support in one area or another, or greater enrichment. If it's also determined that a student may need additional support we definitely convene a team of teachers and other staff members to really look and provide an approach for the student to make sure it really supports the student from all aspects as well. So your students are in good hands. So that's it for the questions, and I'm going to bring it back to Mr. Lilly.
Wonderful. A huge thank you to Ms. Johnson, Ms. Non, two individuals whom I could not do my job without, and who really keep our community together for your students. So just another huge thank you. The purpose really of today was to provide all of our families before the school year closed with just a little bit more information and a nice overview again of the school, as well as just a message of how we are going forward. We just want to thank each and every one of you for watching this presentation, for your engagement, for your support for your students. We're incredibly excited to work with you and to work with your students next year. We also understand that given the circumstances of COVID-19, that we are really in a point of uncertainty, and we realize that and we understand that. And that on the one hand, while we are hopeful that we'll be able to have some of our familiar structures in place next year, that we'll be able to actually work with your students and to see them at the Tyee school, that we are also actively making contingency plans for the event that we do not have that as our start to the year, so that your students are as supported as possible with the transition. That will involve 6th grade teachers reaching out. That will involve ensuring that questions are answered and addressed, and that technology is well understood and trained, so that our 6th graders are as set as possible to start their new year off right. So this is just one of the first and earliest steps as our transition planning, is to provide this information in this overview, and you can expect more steps to come. We will be in touch. You can anticipate more messages coming from Tyee, especially once we get to the end of the year. We are rapidly moving our way to June 19th to finish off our time with our 8th graders who are moving on, as well as our current 6th and 7th graders who are going to be moving up a grade level. But at the same time, we're definitely going to be reaching out more and more as the summer comes through. You can anticipate to hear a little bit more here in the month of June, but certainly more and more information will be coming out after the 1st of August, so that you and your family and your student can be as well prepared as possible for what's to come. So again, another huge thank you to my co-presenters, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Non. Another individual I'd like to thank, who you did not see on camera, is Mr. DiMartini. He has been our producer, kind of working the camera between the three of us, and we want to thank him for his technical expertise. He's one of our instructional and technology coaches, so we really appreciate his leadership and his help with this. So just want to say have a wonderful day. We hope that you have an amazing conclusion to your 5th grade year. Congratulations on completing 5th grade. Congratulations on celebrating that with your family and with your elementary school. I know that they are sad to see you go, the same way I am sad to see my 8th graders go without this chance to come together as a whole school. So congratulations, welcome to Tyee Middle School, and we will be in touch. Thank you, goodbye.